Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Excuse me. All right. Well, we had a pretty decent move yesterday. Down. It's still loading. You know what? Let's grab some links. We're gonna grab the links. We're gonna go stream. Go to my YouTube. Oh yes, and open up, of course, Discord. Open up the chat. Patrick Rooney has some stuff on BTP futures. Anyways, here we go. Here's the YouTube link. Copy. There's that one. And there's that one. Bada boom. Bada bing. Okay. Got a couple of people in here. All right. And now it's loaded. Yes. Okay. So, well, let's look at it in ZN. We had a pretty good move. We were at, remember, 26 or so was where I had an order originally, and I tried to buy and catch this, and I didn't get it. But then we had a much more significant move down, and you can see during that time that the E-mini rallied significantly. Good stuff. And then we've come back a little bit, even though, I don't know. I mean, the E-mini's come down a little bit, but it's kind of weird. It does kind of appear to me, though, that we're consolidating. So I'm a little cautious today. I might be looking for smaller targets because of that. But we are above the bull bear zone, so we could move up a little bit. And it is possible that the E-mini will sell a little bit today. It's the end of the week. It's had a really good week. I think that there's a good chance that they take profits going into the weekend. Bitcoin. I said that there was a little bit of cumulative delta to come out. Yep. Sure enough. I'd say that's about close enough now. Probably that portion of the move is over. For them to continue, we'd need to see more people going short. Very interesting how that cumulative delta can work sometimes, isn't it? Turn on the squawk. And it's Friday. We got CPI. Well, CPI is an important number. We could get some movement. So here in 10 minutes. Oh, I am using and what else we got here? Oh. How am I gonna do this? Yeah, I'm going to let it. Oh, that's a good point. We almost have like, me and Zerv have almost like a 12-hour time difference. In NinjaTrader 8 cumulative delta indicator, there's a bid-ask setting as well as an uptick downtick setting. What's the difference this day? You see how they went in the opposite direction, kinda. Yeah, good question. Yeah, that the cumulative delta thing where you can have the uptick versus the bid ask version it's kind of interesting. I can't. I always say this. There are some things that one will show you, and there are some things that the other will show you, and I can't sit down and I've had this on my chart for a long time. I don't necessarily find these too useful because I really rely on the DOM, and I always see it in the DOM. But you know, they tell you different things. One's not straight up better than the other. I hate this shirt. But it was like all that was left, guys. Alright. John has a comment on it. Restream. Hey, good morning. John in the YouTube chat posting it. I wish there was a way, because having like 3 of them on there is kind of cluttered, but I can't say that one is better than the other. I have not found that to be the case, at least. Let's fix that. By the way, is the widget is fixed today? Yes, it is. Good deal. I guess I go into my daily, will it connect to Discord? Nope.
Just a heads up then, in just under 3 minutes time we'll get the release of the US CPI reads for December. Month on month looking for a reading of minus 0.1% against a flat read. The range between minus 0.2 and 0.2. Core month on month for December, look for a read of 0.2% unchanged on the prior. Look for a range there between 0.1 and 0.2%. Year on year looking for a reading of 1.9% against a prior read of 2.2%. The range between 1.8 and 2.4%. Core year on year we're looking for a reading of 2.2% unchanged on the prior, with a range between 1.9 and 2.3%. Then real weekly earnings month on month for December, looking for a print of 0.3% against a prior of minus 0.1, the range between a flat read and 0.7%. Year on year for the weekly earnings, looking for a read of 1.2% against a upwardly revised prior of 0.6%.
Oh no. I have to do some open source stuff today.
We'll go with core, rather CPI month on month, then go core month on month, then move on to the year on year, and then core year on year read, and then finish off with the earnings numbers.
So they're expecting 0.1 and 0.2 on the core. And remember, core is X energy. So, of course, oil has been down big. That's why the normal CPI number is 0.1. I would point to the point two. Point two is pretty normal, but those numbers have kind of been surprising us. I don't know. It's going to be hard for me to say which way it's going to go, but I think given the way that the market's been acting lately, we'll probably get a pretty big move off of it. I think we could get a pretty good move off of it. I'm wondering here, there's been some rumors that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is going to resign today.
Just under a minute to the data.
Hmm.
10 seconds.
Okay, so remember, we want the core number. Pay attention to the core number.
Month on month minus spot 1%, core month on month spot 2%, year on year 1
in
spot
line.
9%, core year on year 2 spot 2%, earnings weekly month on month spot 7%, year on year 1 spot 2%, and the hourly earnings year on year 1 spot 1%. So just to recap the headline numbers, CPI month on month in line with the estimate minus spot 1%, core month on month as well in line with the estimate at spot 2%, year on year 1 spot 9 again in line, and the core year on year also in line at 2 spot 2%.
Okay, so they did sell a little bit, but because the numbers were in line, that does not necessarily indicate a huge move in the works. Yeah, Bots has a little bit more of a technical description of what the difference between them are. Defines sell orders as trades that occurred on a downtick and buy orders as trades that occurred on an uptick. And there's also the commitment of traders thing too, but I don't think that Ninja Traders indicator includes that. I think that is a GAMI thing. Well, I don't know where it's going to go. I'm wondering if we make a move back to the VWAP at least. Might depend a little bit on the E-mini. You know, this is just kind of like inflation's doing what we expect. No real reason for the landscape to change. I don't know. And it's a Friday. I traditionally have a lot of problems on Fridays. So, not having a good number with movement to trade off of is going to make me much more cautious. I think I need to be much more cautious about what trade I take. And right now, since we saw news and it moved us down 4 ticks, I could maybe try and take out a tick or two within this range. But otherwise, I don't really see a reason to take a trade. I may need to wait until later, maybe much, much later, for a better opportunity to present itself. Hmm. Well, let's look what we got. I hope Mitt Romney primaries Trump, says Harry Reid. Ugh. I thought that guy was dead. No, I know he's not dead, but he retired, right? I don't know. I don't think that things would be any much worse if he was still in. Directly. You guys been following this conversation? Donald Trump saying, I never said Mexico would pay for the wall directly. And this is a huge argument now. Kind of interesting to me. I don't think that it really matters in the end. I mean, whether or not he said directly is pretty irrelevant to whether or not they should build it, but well, we sure got up there to the top easily, didn't we? And it's kind of ticking back and forth. I don't know. This is really tricky. I'm tempted to short it, but they're not exactly holding a lot of orders at 30.5. There are a few targets above us, though. You're getting pretty okay bids when it ticks up. There's that big old monster at 17.5 in the 5-year. They're pumping it up. Anyways, so this was going on Facebook, and they were talking about whether or not he would directly pay for the wall. And I was just making the point that if anybody really has the leeway to try and be the bigger person and make a deal, it's the Democrats. And they should see what they can get. And of course, his first response was give us free health care for all, and they can have their wall. Not exactly a fair trade, buddy. But you're on the right track. I think they should try and get something out of it. I'm going to be interested. I'm skeptical about this whole Notorious RBG is going to resign today. I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like it's a fairly reputable rumor, but it is just a rumor. And I don't know. I've been suckered on that sort of a thing before, so you got to be cautious. But if it does happen, I wonder how that changes the political calculus for people. I don't know if it does. One of the things is that, like the obvious, that, how do we say, the thing that they could get a deal for that's obvious is DACA. But if the administration is confident that the Supreme Court is going to rule in their favor, and I think the Supreme Court probably will rule in their favor, but if RBG is off the court, they're definitely going to rule in his favor. So there's no reason for them to want to compromise on DACA. The administration would probably rather see the courts hit it down so that they have the precedent. That's way better for them. So I don't know if DACA is doable. So then what else do they have to trade for? I suppose they could do minimum wage. I would like to see minimum wage increased. I think it's a little ridiculous that it's been $7 for the past. How long has it been? They haven't changed it since the 90s, right? Probably should be at least 10, but I'm not like some economists probably has some way of determining what the minimum wage should be. But I'm pretty sure you could safely raise it to 10 without too much trouble because very few places are paying less than 10. So that's one thing. What else could you do? They have all of their anti-corruption reforms. Well, that 30 is polling. Are not doing it. They're not going up. They're reversing here.
Equity news seeing City shares rising about 1.5% in pre-market. That's after that information sharing and engagement agreement with Value Act Capital.
At 7?
Both discuss the potential for a board seat nominee.
Where are we talking about? We're talking about in the 5-year? There was a little bit of pulling there at 30. There was only 1,200. They did trade through it. It didn't continue, but now they're stacking a little bit more there. But this price is not a solid price, is all. So, like, you could go down to here. Oh, right. The minimum wage. They set the minimum wage to 15 in Canada? Like, for all of Canada or just in your province? Well, the thing is that a lot of states have a much higher minimum wage. I think it's 10 in Utah. I could be wrong. And I mean, really, when you think about it, because the cost of living is different in different places for various reasons. One of the reasons why the cost of living might be higher is because they have a higher minimum wage, right? But, just in Ontario. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. But, I mean, there's a minimum, I think. I still think that there should be a minimum, and it should probably change with inflation, frankly. I don't think that you should attach it to an indicator because you need to be able to change it. I mean, I know this sounds a little crazy, but I would favor allowing the Federal Reserve to set it. I mean, that would be... I like the system that the Federal Reserve has. There's a board. They're all economists. They put the data in and they make choices, that would be... But it should raise over time. But it's probably also better to allow the states to really be the gatekeepers of the true minimum wage. See, now when I think 15, so I remember during the 2008 crisis, and I was still in school, but I was doing some programming jobs, and they were paying me 15, which was very low for the kind of job that I was doing, of course. But like right now, I think 15 is kind of like the delineator between a job that is literally like just the most basic kind of job that you have. But then there's a lot of jobs that are not like skilled jobs, but still livable. I want to say like you can live off of them.
Net debt issuance at about 35 billion euros. It's an FX as well, keeping an eye on this yen strengthening at the moment as dollar yen trades near session lows 108.17 odd.
The increase didn't come into effect until January 1st. Yeah. Well, one of the other things is it's been so long since we've raised the minimum wage. They probably can't do it all at once. They probably need to have, like, if the United States changed the minimum wage to $15 an hour, they would have to phase it in. Oh, minimum wage by province. So let's see, because I'm going to bet. Because the rest of Canada is pretty conservative. Oh, okay, so Alberta has it at 15. Alberta is a pretty conservative place. It's interesting that Quebec has it less. It's 12 in Quebec and 14 in Ontario. And it's been $15 in Alberta for a long time. That's interesting. My mom is from Alberta. And I was always under the impression that it was a fairly conservative place. But you also got to remember that the 80% of the population in Canada is in Ontario and Quebec. So, but anyways, I think at $15 an hour is where you could start to have jobs that you could maybe consider a career and that people work in for a really long time. They aren't necessarily great jobs. I tell you, so my wife, she's a flight attendant, and she's worked there for quite some time. So she's got pretty good benefits and seniority. So one of the things is that the way that it works is you go into the system and you give them your schedule, and then they give you jobs that would fit that schedule, and then you can drop jobs and pick other ones up if you want. You can trade them and everything, and you can even if you're having trouble dropping a trip or something, you can even pay extra for other people to take the trip. So having worked there for a long time is a really big deal because you can get the schedule that you want, right? And if she were to go to another airline, like a mainline airline, she might actually be able to make more money, but she wouldn't be able to get the schedule that she wants. So she's not probably unlikely to change jobs, right? But in the airline industry, especially for flight attendants, they don't pay you for the whole time you're there. They only pay you from the time that the doors close on the airplane to when they open when you land. So that's why, for instance, if they're held up, they will just sit at the gate forever with the door open, because then they don't have to pay everybody because of that. If you're sitting on the runway, that's really bad, because then they have to pay the flight attendants more. But because of that, you can have a situation let's say that you do a trip and you fly out somewhere, and then there's a several hour layover, and then you fly back. So you could have a situation where you were literally gone all day, but you only got paid for 2 or 3 hours of work. So when you look at the hourly rate for them, it's not actually that good. And they're kind of doing what a lot of companies are doing, and it sounds like where I work might actually do that, where they're just not giving people raises in line with inflation, they're not keeping up with inflation. But normally it would be well, then it would be hard to keep people and they would move to other airlines. Now maybe they're going to go for it. The 22 did go offer, but they're not able to hold a strong offer at 31.5. It immediately gets taken down. Okay. I think we'll probably see some orders at evens. So my instinct to not mess with it was, I think, right. There was, just given the situation, they're probably going to try and extend both sides of the range, and you could create a little bit of chaos here either way. Anyways, so I feel that flight attendants, because of that, aren't making as much money as they should, because they've got this seniority thing is too big of a deal for them to get what they really should be getting paid. It's kind of sad, because I would think a minimum wage or sorry, that being a flight attendant is a pretty good career that you could do for a really long time, and is a good, like, one of the better jobs for somebody that, like, you didn't really go to school, or you don't have many skills. And that's now, of course, my wife actually did go to school and she did psychology. So probably she could have done it something else, but her ex was a pilot, so that's how she got into it. But that would be like a good job for a lot of people. But like if you're a brand new flight attendant, it's like below the poverty line what you make, because you're making like not minimum wage, but you're making not very much, and then the number of hours that you're actually getting is like really awful. So there's definitely some imbalances in the market, and I'm really not sure what they can do to, resolve them. You know what I mean? Normally, you would think that a union would be like the solution, but then you get the union in, and the union charges you so much dues that it just cancels out any of the gains that you make in wage increases. Just ridiculous. Which I don't understand why they need the dues need to be the way, like you should have you should pay for a negotiator for sure. But then beyond that, maybe the unions just need to be lighter. But yeah, the companies definitely seem to have a lot of power, and that seems to be one of the reasons why inflation's not rising so high. 403 traded into not evens, whatever we want to call it. Tick back down. There was remember we were at 17.5. And there was a pretty big thing there. And then we've moved up, and now there's a pretty big one at 19. And as we've been doing this, the E-mini has been moving slowly lower. So I think the E-mini may give us a little reprieve here. We may get a short to go back to maybe even the open price. And then we get the equity open, and we could get a little bit of fighting. So this 31 is acting balanced now. That's interesting. Risk reward is really tight because the last pivot was at 30 before we moved up higher. So if we take a short, you might only be able to get 30.5. Oh, look, it's the super hard liars again. I need to come up with a better name than that to make fun of them with. I mean, really, can you imagine? They claim, a day or two ago, they claim that they bought $1 billion in Bitcoin. And that was up when it was above 4,000. So now it's come down, and it's 36. right? They've lost a good 10%. That's like they've lost like $200 million. Can you imagine? You know what I could do with $200 million? I had 200 million, I would be set. I could quit my job. I put, I just um, pay off the house, put the rest of it in passive, generating income, and I could just live off of that for the rest of my life. And this is superheart.org Foundation just throws it away willy nilly. Like, oh, we can buy it. We can buy it at 4,000. No, probably not. I was looking at it the other day. I was reading an article about Bitcoin, and they said that it would only take $20 million to move the price of Bitcoin on Coinbase 10%. Right? And he says he's trading $1 billion. Yeah. There's not enough liquidity in Bitcoin to buy that much in a day. So I think that one's pretty conclusive that what these people say they're doing is not true. Maybe he actually is buying Bitcoin and he's trying to pump it up while he's doing it, but he's not buying $1 billion of it. I mean, 31.5 would be okay, but this is not good action to trade. While I am tempted to take it because I can kind of see the range and the spots, and I think that maybe I could get one. When we're having action this slow, I think it's best to stay out. That's been working for me lately, at least, so I think I'm going to stick with that. I'm wondering, we are coming up into like some resistance points, right? In ZB, I think that ZB could maybe get to 30. What are the prices that John had for today? What do you got here? Let's look at his notes. As long as ZB continues to trade below 145.24 to 30, we could see lower prices or consolidation heading into the weekend. The overnight low appears to be the midterm demand level. Ooh, that's like way down there. For the most part, I'm biased slightly to the long side, but we'll wait to see what the CPI report delivers. Well, we have been moving up. And I would assume that probably there before, at least before that move up that we probably had a long signal there. That was good for at least a little bit. Accumulating since 2012. So what are you going to do when you are like the only one that has Bitcoin? And and then nobody else wants to buy it. So I was thinking about this in Garlic Coin. So Garlic Coin experienced a rough start. There was a pre-mining scandal. There was a 50+1 attack, I think. Although people are still doing it, and I still mine it. And I've mined quite a bit. At like 7,500. So I'm like 3/4 of the way to my goal. And I remember thinking, man, if I could actually mine 10,000 Garlic Coin,
In equity news,
that would
General
be
Motors seeing
crazy.
2018 adjusted auto free cash flow exceeding its view. Also seeing its 2018 adjusted EPS exceeding its guidance. It plans to secure a $3 billion revolving credit facility. And sees its 2019 US industry sales in the low 17 million range. But the main thing there sees 2018 adjusted EPS and free cash flow guidance exceeding their guidance there.
Anyways, 10,000 of it is not that much. It's like literally like $50. is equal to 10,000. But when I look on the subreddit, these people are like, I have one garlic coin. I mined and I have a dozen of them. And so I'm kind of wondering, is it like, maybe it's the case that you have just a few whales, because I don't have very much. So there's probably a bunch of guys in garlic coin that just have tons, like millions of garlic coins or whatever. And, how are they going to get out? Be interesting. But it would not take much to pump a garlic coin. In fact, it's happened already a few times where they pump it up, and garlic coin will like practically double overnight. So before Christmas, my garlic coin was worth like $10, and now it's worth like 30. Isn't that interesting? That coin in particular, and I'm not saying that like it's a good coin to invest in or anything, but that's the one that I've been mining. Is kind of like a Hail Mary, like maybe in the next crypto run, it rises with the rest of them. You had like easy accumulation. It could turn out really well. You're going to have to hold it for a long time though. So it could be a long time. But, that coin only has its max supply is 69 million. So there's not as many garlic coins out there as other things. It's not like Dogecoin, which one Dogecoin is hardly worth anything, right? No, there's only going to be 69 million of them. And they've already mined out half. Gets kind of interesting, right? But you have apparently some people holding it where they own most of the coin. So economically speaking, in another bull run, I don't know how this turns out. It's going to be a very interesting one to look at. And when I'm done mining it here, in a few more months, I need to decide what I'm going to mine after that. I'm going interested in learning more about this Tron, because Tron has been doing very, very well recently. That might be one of the coins that does well on the next run. What did we have here?
So in UK news here, seeing the NISA report that UK GDP growth is set to slow to a quarterly rate of spot 3% in the fourth quarter of 2018. That's from their previous spot 6% in the previous quarter, but a modest recovery is expected in the first quarter of 2019, according to the NISA.
Cool. Yeah, they probably did. Democrats need to be more careful about what issues they take up against Trump, because he's leading them in a direction that will make them appear to be anti-American in general, not just anti-border security. Pro-antagonists are coming across the American border with their blessing and personal invitation. All of the incoming migrants are cordially invited to live with Nancy, Chuck, and their welcoming friends for the next 20 to 30 years. Okay, that last part was just kind of a joke, but I am kind of seeing something. So, where was it? I think it was on Breitbart that I saw, which is, a conservative rag, of course, but they were pointing out a couple of statements from Democrat representatives while they were being interviewed. And all of these representatives were saying, of course, there are some parts of the border where a wall is appropriate. and there are other technologies that we need. And it's something that's irked me about the discussion right now is that a lot of it is based off of a falsehood that it's only for the wall. Of course, it includes a wall, and Donald Trump is, emphasizing that a wall is one necessary component so that he can say that he's right. But they crafted this plan together with the agencies, and it's going to go to a bunch of different things that the agencies think that they need. So, according to the agencies, all of this money is going towards effective uses that the things that they think would most effectively help increase security on the border. And so you see some of these Democrats coming out and saying, well, it is reasonable to do this and that. And I think that you kind of have this risk where the wall gets funded one way or another, and then in the places where they do increase the border security, the problems are improved. And then you turn around and you say, look, it does work. And of course, if you're the Democrat in that situation, you've kind of almost set yourself up for that, because you're like fighting against the agency. You're fighting a battle that is not the real policy battle that's going on. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think they may be painting themselves into a corner. Granted, Donald Trump painted himself into a corner, right? We all knew it when he was talking about the border. We all said, well, Mexico's not really going to pay for it. And how is he going to explain that? And we all knew that was just kind of like, he only said that because it's easy to visualize and it's convincing, not because he actually thought that was the most important thing. So he kind of painted himself into a corner. But that was a long time ago, right? Now, Democrats have the chance to capitalize on that mistake, and they're overextending and hurting themselves in the process, I think. And of course, today, people aren't going to get paychecks. So we'll see what happens Monday. I'm noticing, there was this yesterday. I'm just blabbing because I don't really want to trade it up in here.
Seeing shares off.
Maybe we're going to be moving down now.
Pre-market after that raised guidance. Likes of Ford also up over 1.5%.
I did say, maybe we could make it back to the open. And we are getting a good offer at 31. But it's still being so slow. Even though that might be a good opportunity if you could get filled at 30.5, I think it's probably better for me to hold off. Anyways, what was I about to say? The train has already left for crypto. What does that mean? You mean that you think that the bottom has already been put in? Because I do not believe that. At least, it's possible. It's always possible. But if it did, if that was the bottom, two things. If that was the bottom. One, it would be a very unusual break from past behavior in Bitcoin. Right? Number two, the market is still a little frothy. So if that was the bottom, you run the risk of petering out early because price is already too high. Or you're saying that the crypto thing is dead. You think that the all-time high has already been put in. Well, okay, that might be true. I honestly do think that you might be right. He's typing. Yeah, because I really think that Bitcoin Core. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's saying the fun is over. I really think that Bitcoin Core made a fatal mistake in not increasing the block size, because Bitcoin got its big moment where everybody was watching, and what did they learn? That Bitcoin can't actually carry their transactions. And the people at Bitcoin Core are okay with that because they seem to think that Bitcoin is just always going to go up because the supply of it is going to become more and more constrained. So they think that it's always going to go up. But there's really what makes the price go up is the people using it. And now I don't think after that very many normal people are going to use Bitcoin Core to do stuff, because your transaction could get stuck for months. 4 months. It took them months to clear the what is it? The memory pool. It took months to clear the memory pool. Now there is Bitcoin Cash increased the block size, so it's not like the technology is dead. But I do kind of think that in order for Bitcoin to reach like the next stage of its evolution, Bitcoin Core either has to make a significant policy change or there needs to be a flippening. But that's where I don't think it's done yet. The reason I don't think it's done yet, although I acknowledge that there is a reasonably good probability that it is, but the reason I would say that it's probably not done yet is that the technology is still evolving, right? And so at some point, one of these coins is going to become mature enough where they have a application that people want to use, and the liquidity to allow the larger public to be able to use it, and it'll have the capacity to handle that many people. And then when that happens, you could see another run. And it might not be as high as the last one, but I think you get a run. Eventually, though, it falls apart. Like, you could get something where, like, they mine it out, and Bitcoins start to become super rare, and price moves up really big time, and Satoshi comes back and sells to the people coming in, and he becomes the supply for a while, and then he disappears, and at some point people become sick of the bubbles and it goes away, or a better technology comes along and they switch to that, and so Bitcoin is worthless. Yeah. Is this going to be this conspiracy theory? Right. So this is the no, I don't know really what this is on about. I don't know. The thing is there's still a really good use case for Bitcoin, especially with the way that Silicon Valley has been trying to restrict people's speech and everything. With some of the things that Patreon has been doing. A lot of people are concerned about it and are looking for alternatives, and Bitcoin is like the only real alternative. I need to pull this up. Yeah, you know what? I should just where is he? I don't. If I hide user on this channel, do they go away? Yes. They should just go away now. Thank you.
Swedish news, the Social Democrats say they have agreed a draft policy platform with the Centre, Liberals and Greens.
I was allowing him to post because it was funny, but now it's probably a spam that doesn't look good when people come into the channel, so we should probably, yeah. We'll fix that. We can get rid of that. There we go. A group going by the Dark Overlord has been threatening to release 9/11 papers in lieu of a Bitcoin ransom. They demand $2 million to either release or withhold the documents they claim to have hacked several insurance. Well, that's interesting. That's okay. So that's what that's about. That's interesting. I was gonna say there was somebody else that would come into the chat frequently that believes that Bitcoin is a scam created by the government to fund CIA operations. But nope, I think at some point Bitcoin gets replaced. I don't think that the Bitcoin core team is effective or visionary enough to prevent that from happening at some point. But I also think maybe, just the nature of bubbles and everything, I think you could have another run. People's memories are short. People are foolish. But I don't think we've reached bottom yet. For this to reach bottom, like, as long as I continue to see volatility like we've been seeing, like this thing right here, big move up, and then he gives up and it actually moves lower, you know? That is big guys still trying to do stuff. And for Bitcoin to be rock bottom, those guys need to be washed out. Those guys trying to take it on the short-term profits, they need to be killed, or what is the word that they use? They need to puke. And then nobody cares about Bitcoin anymore. Like, even when I talk about it, nobody wants to talk about it. And it's dead. Just like it was after Mt. Gox, it was dead. Nobody cared anymore. For the longest time, you didn't hear about it. For the longest time. And then it starts to rise, and there's changes, and people get back in, and the whole cycle starts again. But the bubble has to pop completely before it can do that. Well, I haven't seen anything yet about RGB retiring. There is a story on CNN Politics just now talking about uncertainty about her absence, but nothing about her actually leaving. We've really gone back and forth in this area a lot. This is just kind of like, was it Wednesday or Tuesday? Although we had a much bigger move up, but, it was like there had been a move up, and then we kind of had been sitting in this range for a really long time, and then eventually they moved higher. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to go, if it's going to do that or not. They did have a little bit of a move down, but they were able to hold it. And I'm wondering if they make a new high on this run or not. Still awfully slow, though. And that you look at like how much got left behind. 4-2-7 wasn't very much. So it's still really slow. Hmm. When the bell goes off. Oh gosh. There's 31.5. You could sell that if you wanted. Probably not the right call if it's going the wrong way. Well, 10 minutes till equity's open. And then we can maybe see what that brings. There's nothing else in news today, right? That was just the CPI. Federal budget balance at noon, probably not important. Bitcoin created by NSA CIA headed to zero. Yeah, that I think that's exactly what I was talking about. It does really beg the question, though. Who is Satoshi and why did he disappear? Did he die? I don't know. It's super weird. So if I was Satoshi, this is one of my favorite games in crypto. If I was Satoshi, all right, so if I was Satoshi and I had the Genesis block, I would not put the key in like a safety deposit box or hide it somewhere or something. Like, that's too risky. That's too risky because if it's like in a safety deposit box, somebody could still like hold you hostage or something like that. You know? I would keep it up here. I guess they could still keep you hostage if it was in your head. Wouldn't it? Torture you or something? But you don't tell anybody that. You memorize it and throw away the keys. Yeah? And I mean, a key like that, well, it's not that impossible to memorize, right? It would take you a little bit of time, but you could totally memorize it. I would memorize it. And then, just like him, I would disappear. Like once development was going and it was enough of its own thing that I knew that it was going to continue without me. Any amount of time that you stick around after that is just like increased risk. Telling people that you're going to go is increased risk, you know? And really, like, the risk to him is very high because there's a lot of money involved, right? So I would just disappear and not say anything and just kind of leave everybody wondering. And I would wait and not do anything until it had been mined out. Or pass away like Hal Finney. Yeah. I mean, maybe he is dead. But when I think about it, I mean, I'm a Treasury guy, right? And I understand how the Federal Reserve works and everything like that. So like, I can only think about it in that terms, and that's why, to me, if I was Satoshi, I would wait until all of the blocks have been
Equity
mined
German
out.
utility company EWE to kick off sales process for 26% stake in February, according to Reuters sources. The planned transaction could value EWE at up to 6.2 billion euros.
And then I would have all of that money. Yen is dropping. Oh, yeah. When did that start? Just barely at the top of the hour. But despite the yen dropping hard, treasuries have not moved significantly. No, in fact, they've actually moved up a little bit as they've been dropping. That's interesting. All these prices in here still look unreliable to me. You can see the 30 half pulled, the 31 pulled. Got back in at 25.85 short.
Versus the euro and yen here, a bit of a reversal for dollar yen. Just keep an eye ahead of the New York 10 a.m. cut. We've got about 2.5 yards coming off for euro dollar at 115 flat.
Yeah, this is tricky because it has been very slow this morning. And yet, you know, that amount of low volatility can kind of end really quickly, right? But the context here is like way too hard to make a longer term read. Like, I could maybe pull a tick or two out, but when it's slow like that, your probabilities of being able to get the tick or two are a little bit less, and you're going to be in the market a long time. So there's more risk in that, right? And yeah, there is a really big order up at evens. In fact, all of the stacks are above us. There's still some stacks above us in ZN. There's some above us in ZF. ES looks like a responsive selling at the open. It can go up again. Well, it looks like that Ace Trade's got his trade for sure. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Ace Trade's definitely got a good one there. Yeah. I think when they open, they're probably going to extend the bottom of that. Seem appropriate to me. Of course, there's always that chance that they're selling it down so that they can do a head fake and buy it on the open, but Tino likes 25.8250 to buy in the mini. So JPY is coming to a swing point there. Maybe might turn around a little bit. They are giving you another opportunity to get short at 31.5. We gotta watch this spot really carefully. This is where sometimes you can get a really strong signal that's super subtle. Okay. There's a reasonable amount of buying there at 31, actually, more so than there should be. For a price that's been really flaky, and they've been able to make go offer, and they've been able to make 30 half go offer pretty easily too. And now to see 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 or so buy there at 31 is a little weird. Now they're not holding a strong bid and buying up, but I think you could see it move up here a little bit. Interesting read there in the cumulative delta on the open as well. Yep, see, they're able to make 31 half go bid. And the evens is not stacking. There are actually a couple jumping out there. A couple hitting it. Where are some spots that E-mini will try and hit? Could there's a quite bit ways down there. Strong bid on that uptick. A little bit of a cumulative delta rise as well. That O1 is going to suck them up now, I think. Okay. A little bit of iceberging at 0.5. I was in ZN since yesterday and you're finally out? Had you bought there? So are you saying you bought towards the end of the day? That's pretty... Ugh. Do you live in Europe? Because if you live in the US and you held that, that's... Ugh. I would hate that. It would be super hard for me to sleep and not want to watch my trade. I mean, if it's a long-term swing trade, it's fine. But, oh, okay, France, yes. That makes a little bit more sense. Yeah. Why did you get out at evens there? Just kind of wondering, like, what was the signal that made you want to get out there? Hey, interesting that they're making the zeros go off again. But because it's unfinished at 05, I think that they may keep going. And I think that ZF is going to want this 19. It's interesting. They are buying the treasuries, and it does look related to equities selling off. But equities are not selling very hard. And the cumulative delta is actually positive. I'm a little... I don't know, guys. If they move down, there's a lot of delta to create a flush lower. Right? Okay. So that O1 is stacking up pretty heavy. Okay. Sure. Nothing wrong in taking set targets like that. I like to see something that indicates to me that it's over there, but... Okay, well, there's quite a few people that are willing to trade here at 0.5. It's my take. We've already... I mean, that was a new. That was well above the high. They've already traded 10,000 there. They've easily traded 10,000 there. I don't know. Even he sold there. They didn't really push it much further. So much delta. Well, not so much. It's actually only about 2,000, isn't it? So this is in reality very, very slow. Hmm. Okay, so the offer at a one just went below 5,000, and only a few have traded there. So that is an indication that that we might go up a little bit more. Oh yeah, now it's really pulling. And the big order that was at 19 pulled. Okay, so there's your first um insistent sell. Is that the word we should say? It was a confident sell. He sold it and he offered up a decent amount. And he sold everything that was put there. And the big order in the 5 year is back. And they're hitting '05. Well, it might already be too late. Yes, this being. So do you see here the E-mini is now pushing lows, but the treasuries aren't really freaking out yet. And look, the delta is still all there. Even though it's, like I said before, it's not a huge divergence, but it's definitely an odd one. Like right on the open and everything. Hmm. Seeing new lows there. But it's very slow. It's very slow. I think that you've you got to keep going until something crazy happens. Is usually what they do. Usually what they do. There you go. There's something crazy right there. Crap. Crap. I had this still on a stop limit. That 015 is not holding much at all. You had a pretty good stop run there, so they're I'm taking this based on that there might be a little bit of a pause here now. I'm not saying that we're going to have a reversal. But can you kind of see they're really tepid here? I don't think that there's a lot of people left. Hmm. Yeah, at the very least, I don't like my spot. The risk seems okay. I do see some buying there. It's pretty aggressive, in fact. Look at that. Yeah. As soon as I say that, it stops. Like as soon as I started saying that, you saw the little bit of a run up, a little sweep, I think. Treasury's not dropping yet. See if we get a confident downtick. It's building some volume there at the 81 level. Okay, it downticked, but it wasn't a super confident one. Thinking that 31.5 at the very least might be appropriate here. Depends on if the E-mini is like really going to recover, or if they're just doing a little bit of a pullback here. They'd need to blast through that like 84 area. They'd need to go, well, not just 84, but 80. The last pivot was 85. It's pretty strong buying, though, I'd say. Did you get out when it did that drop? Please tell me you got out down there. Okay. Ah. Okay. Something a little bit more forceful, but it's still holding a bid. Don't like it. So the E-mini is backing off a little bit here. And I don't like the position because there's not a lot selling into 01 right now. Yeah. That 1/2 just completely pulled. So I think they're going to stop me out now. Oh, good deal. Whew. Okay. Mm, yeah, the E-mini is coming back there. Maybe they hold this 80 level. I think they sell it a little bit more. It'll suck if they hold it here and then it really sells. But the situation that I was in, I don't think it was, you know, it wasn't supposed to act like that. Okay, so here now they are selling a little bit. It does look like they're gonna make a new low. Yep. Ooh. Well, that was a super weak new low, guys. There's still some delta long. I think you could have another. You could have some more pushes down, but that's super weak. You can see this bid in the 5 years was following it up. Maybe we could see O3. I'm thinking if it's would make sense to buy O1/2, but that would be a really icky location. $7.52. Treasuries don't seem to be concerned at all about that little few ticks higher. I think he's probably still going to go lower. Hmm. There's still a really awfully big order in ZB. So that's got to be our next stopping point. Okay, let's see if we get another stop run in ES. Nope. They're kind of holding down here pretty well, actually. Okay, that's interesting right there in the E-mini. Very insistent downtick there. And they did stop a few people out there. A few people bought treasuries when that happened. $78, $76, $75. Well, we're coming into a support area here in ES. I wonder if all those big orders up way up there are still there. Ugh. Okay. So a little bit of buying on the bid. You see that 31.51 sold into O2. So somebody was buying there in preparation for a potential level break. It's not unusual for them to trade through it. It's not even unusual for them to trade 0.5. But when it happens, they will typically bid it back up, get around 3,000 there, and then try and take out the 025 and 03 really quickly. For that to happen, I think that you would need to see another push lower in the E-mini, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. But they're not anxious to sell 0.5. That's interesting. I'm not getting bubbles, but there's been 300s and 400s traded in this 2580 area a lot. Eh. Eh. Okay. So I didn't see the level breakers puke there. That would have been a spot to puke for sure. Uncertain if the sellers are going to get their way here. There was a sweep up. That's not a good sign. Hmm. He's short in treasuries now. Well, I didn't like that sweep. I tell you that. I tell you that. I'm still seeing the absorption though. See? I think that the E-mini is going to have to turn, is going to have to make another turn before they have any kind of. Okay, but there is at that 84. There is a still a large order there. So those buyers may still have targets set. But the E-mini is going to have to turn down a little bit and make a higher low first. And since I still see people buying at 0.5, that was pretty confident uptick. Didn't hold. Still took 1444 to trade it down though. That's not terrible. Can still bid above 1,000. Okay. It looks like they're fighting it, but I do think that the seller's gonna have to win here. It's just buying in this location, in my opinion. Granted, I'm not an E-mini trader, so this is not my expertise, but it seems like that would be a really bad spot to be buying it. Well, they are making a few ticks of progress. I don't know. I don't know. The delta is a little bit down though. Okay. ES is holding this level a lot more strongly than I expected. It does look like the E-mini may have potentially reversed. I'm not getting my okay. I don't know. Man, tough. There's too many people buying it here. But it did go down, so I'm not. So this is really kind of frustrating when you're at the spot where maybe you're thinking about getting out and it's doing something unexpected like that. Could totally tick back up really strongly again, and for all we know, you really are in a spot where you should probably make a turn. Like the shorts got cleared out. Just like the longs got cleared out and they turned out. Now the shorts got cleared out, they should turn. But they're not. Well, they're down a little bit. They'd have to break through this other side, 2581 though, to really probably get back to where I was in. Hmm. Yeah, it's flipping over there in the 10-year now. See, the bid is a little bit higher for a second, but they've gone back and forth. You're getting strong buying in the E-mini. Yeah. Ooh, the O5 is thick. And not offering a lot either. That buy in the E-mini think was a little weird. I don't know. So they're going through this supply area now in the ES, and they're not really turning. So okay, now they dumped. So I think that guy, I shouldn't have been following him. I should have stuck with the original shorts because I did short it at 01 at one point, and it went through me for a tick. Interesting. Alright, let's just wait here. Might give us another opportunity. That one really was a 50-50, so. Okay. Hmm. So this is the top of the opening range. It's kind of a halfway point. There's a few stacking at 31.5, stacking and pulling as we tick up and down. See a bubble in ES. I like it. Yeah, not a super strong uptick. The E-mini looks promising though. So now the question is, if they go back down, is all of this cumulative delta going to come back off again? Because that's not, it only got up there to that equalized. So for all we know, that whole move up could have just been short covering. Yeah. So the treasuries aren't too sure about it. They're just going with the correlation. They're not upticking like super confidently. Thinks that it will bounce higher at 84, huh? And though, okay. Okay. Hmm. The O1 is pulling. Yeah. Wow, that firmed up really quickly. No, 1/2 pulled. Good. Okay, that was a pretty confident uptick. Bitcoin and treasuries are an interesting mix. Well, I really only trade the ZN for day trading. But when I first started this stream, that was like a year ago when the Bitcoin futures went live, and that's what everybody was interested in. So I had that up, and that kind of generates interest. And it seems to me like the crypto guys are more likely to come in and watch a stream, so I stick it in there. And I do have an indicator. If you go and check out the link in the description, the Patreon link, I have a very, very effective cryptocurrency indicator that helps you time major tops and bottoms in Bitcoin. Um, I've made some decent money on it, and I really believe in it. So that's kind of why I still push the cryptocurrency thing, because trying to get the word out on that indicator. I would really like the larger market eventually to understand this, because I think that it's something that has really good edge, and I want to eliminate that edge because it would make Bitcoin more stable. That makes sense, right? Like we're getting these bubbles. The indicator tells you when we're in a bubble. So if everybody knew that that meant that we were in a bubble, then they would sell. And so then we wouldn't actually get the bubble, right? And then cryptocurrencies would be more stable, and that would actually make cryptocurrencies more valuable, right? It's the long trade, folks. It's the long trade. Well, that O2 is pulling too. Man, so if O2 gets a bid, I actually kind of need to. Okay, so 600 is not enough, right? The funny thing also about Bitcoin and treasuries, because I understand why you're saying they're an interesting mix, because they're kind of in opposition to each other, aren't they? Really, the argument that Bitcoin is making is that they don't like the way that the treasury system works, which is interesting because a lot of people think that they should be inversely correlated, and they aren't. At least from my observation, they have not been. Okay, so you're getting a little bit of a bid there in the E-mini. So that O2 still looks weak. That may be a lure, though. I'm still keeping an eye on the possibility that we build a good bid at O2 and do a level break. Oh. Oh, I know you and your stream from the Discord. I don't think I've ever talked in there, simply because I haven't been trading for the last year, but it's interesting to follow you guys, so thanks. Well, thank you for paying attention. Or what was it for paying attention? But I mean, watching it, it's interesting to me. I guess I know that there's always lurkers out there. Like when I look at this stream, we usually get to around 12 to 16 people every day. But very, very few people actually chat. So I know that there's lurkers, but it never really occurred to me that there's lurkers in Discord too. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, theming is being really. What is the word here? Actually a strong believer in both, which, yes, is very rare in the Bitcoin space. Okay, now you're building a good bit at O2. So now the question is, do we see stops or are they able to go through it unceremoniously? But that's a really good sign that they're able to get 2,000 in bid. Yeah, well, I really believe that the problem in the world, one of the biggest problems that we have in the world today is transferring money. Whether it's you need to give a large amount, like if you buy a house and you have to wire tens of thousands of dollars to somebody, and you can do a wire transfer, but it's a big pain to do. Bitcoin fills a need in the world by having this transaction network that you can do stuff, right? But there's flaws, right? Takes 10 minutes. That's okay that it takes 10 minutes, but the block size isn't big enough, so you can't hold everybody, and would need significant changes to really hold the amount of demand that would be there if Bitcoin was really filling the purpose the way that it was intended. And then there's the whole speculation side of it and the bubbles and everything like that are really, I think that there's going to be a cryptocurrency of some sort that plays a major role in the future of finance. I just don't really believe that it's going to be Bitcoin. I believe that there was an inverse correlation for the first 5-ish years, but that is no longer the case, which is an interesting idea to hypothesize on. Right. Well, if Bitcoin was really popular, or sorry, let's not say really popular, but if Bitcoin was kind of fulfilling what its proponents want it to be, and it was starting to fill that role in the world, I think that you would actually start to see an inverse correlation. But it wouldn't be an inverse correlation because these are not good conversations to have on a phone. I understand. But okay, I'm just watching the E-mini here. It's still being a little. They're not sure if they're going to go for it. I like that the Treasuries were able to get 2,000, but that's not enough. You would need to see some sort of a flip, or the 5-year would need to tick up. There is going to be a lot of liquidity in ZB at 46 evens. Anyways, in my opinion, the thing that gives Bitcoin value is people actually doing transactions on the chain. Like, the more people that are actually using Bitcoin, the more people there are to transact Bitcoins with, and that makes it valuable. Just like with gold. Gold is valuable because there's a lot of people that have made transactions with gold throughout history. It's, a lot of people. And so that gives gold value because you know that you're always going to be able to sell your gold to somebody. It might be more or less than you bought it for, but you know that you'll always be able to transact with it, right? So what that means is that if the economy starts doing poorly, you might see that there's going to be less transactions on the blockchain, and so Bitcoin will be worth less. And so in that respect, then you would start to get an inverse correlation in treasuries. It wouldn't be an inverse correlation because people are buying Bitcoin to escape treasuries or anything like that. It would be Actually, quite the opposite is people would fly to Treasuries because they're afraid the economy is going to go down, and at the same time they would get out of Bitcoin because there's going to be less transactions, and so it becomes Bitcoin becomes a risk asset,
what he's
right?
always said, really important not to prevent, well, to prevent no deal Brexit.
Okay, they're building up 2000 again, but it still hasn't flipped. The bid offer still hasn't flipped at 0.25. Now it's flipped. Now they're eating into it. Oh, they're able to trade up through it with almost nothing. That was the previous high, right? Yes. They've traded into 0.25 before. But 3,000 is probably too much. Is that the RAN? I don't, it's the live squawk feed. Yes. So I give you the link here. But, somebody sent that to us. So that's, like kind of like a secret. So I would ask that you not spread that around too much beyond the chat room so that they don't like get rid of it. But yeah, you can use that if you want. It's one of the best things that people sent us here. Okay, now some stops. Just a little bit. I was kind of starting to think, it's been up here for so long now that I probably almost have to move up a little bit. Now we've got a bunch of 4s here. I'm wondering if they can actually make it through that. Okay, so 0.25 is acting balanced. Up a little
S&P
bit
is saying DC is well positioned
buying on the
despite
bid.
federal government shutdown.
I think when we were up there and, I saw that they were getting filled on the bid all the way down, even after I got stopped out, that was really what made me think, I should buy it here, especially now that I saw a bubble in the ES. I think that was the thing that really, really keyed me off to this trade. I wonder if the E-mini is going to make a new low now, because the cumulative delta indicates that we're about even. Okay. Got my face ripped off. Adrian, no, what happened? What happened? Adrian. I don't know about this. We gotta be on our toes here because. So we got 2 ticks. There was a strong bid. Well, it wasn't a strong bid. It sat there for a while. Wasn't sure if they were going to do it. Finally, they did. I saw a few stops at 0.25, but not really, and then they ticked on through it. Now at 0.25, that ticked up fairly confidently, and they've absorbed 2,000. But there's also 2,000 at the 0.3. So I think what may be happening is I don't think the buyer is done. And there are some people taking profits Um, and now seeing the proximity to the low and everything, I think that the E-mini will go down and make a new low. And you know what else? That is a really clear head and shoulders. Yeah, I think we'll make a new low. Okay. Oh, too late. Okay. They just took out 5K just like that. And it's bid. Hmm. And there's some bubbles down there. I think that there's a chance that we go for more. But to have seen that there was an iceberg and we got through it, but then it went off again is not something I really want to mess with. I hope I get filled here. That 025 is looking a little weak. I wonder if there's still going to be some absorption on the buy side though. You know, because those guys have been just gobbling up a lot of contracts. Okay. Look at this in the E-mini. There's a big order there. They're going to sell through it or not. And then there's a couple of people buying ahead of it. Okay. We're getting some level 2 games here. Almost 700 stacking and pulling at 025. Okay. So tick down and the Treasuries tick down. That's interesting. Hmm. So the E-mini did not actually make a new low there, did it? Came awfully fucking close though. And 025 was where it was like hard to get through. And that has gone offer again. Pretty big offer, in fact, on it. Hmm. Okay, I don't like that. Uh, uh, I feel paralyzed. Maybe I should just mark it out. So it's been 2 down ticks now without much opportunity to get out on offer. See? Just full selling. That sucks. Shit. Don't do that. I gotta do something about that. How do I... Are you sure you like Ninja? Oh, yeah. Well, I've get to... So here's the problem. How do I do it? It's like, is it this one? Yes, it is. Okay, so I have this error window and I accidentally made it full screen the other day. Okay. So what's happening is it's rejecting it because I'm trying to put a stop sell at a price that's already offer. So that's why it complains. I have to come over here and change it between auto and stop limit if I want a stop limit order. I don't think there's a key for it. Fortunately. Yeah, I'm just I gotta think about that when I use those stop limit orders, and that's when I end up getting that error. Yeah, it just really sucks that we got that move, and I had a good offer, but they just didn't take it. And when I saw that O2, I really should have gotten out right then and there. Really should have gotten out right then and there. I really should have gotten out as it was stopping out. You know what I mean? Or like when I saw the bubble in the E-mini, or I was a little bit too patient on that one. And what happened was everybody else got out before me. So super unfortunate, because if it was not for that, I would be up on the day. And the frustrating thing is that I see this going lower in ES. So you see this. So here's where's my okay. So this is a Head and Shoulders. Okay. And this is an Echo, probably. So the pattern completed, right? The pattern completed for sure. But when it comes back up to the neckline again, you've got some potential resistance and it could move lower. But the thing that I thought was interesting about this one was look at how unbalanced it is in volume. Why do you think it has been a stop run? So when we were trading up, there was some orders that hit almost immediately, but it wasn't a ton. So that's why I didn't like immediately be like, okay, I got what I want, and now I'm just gonna get out. You know what I mean? And I really thought that I was gonna get filled at 03, or I would have just hit into 025. Maybe next time I should sell into 025 and then see if it'll give me 03 when I'm feeling that stressed. You know? Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. But anyways, back to this head and shoulders here. So when you look at the amount of buying that was on here, here's delta buying, okay? They made a new high. Came back down. The delta long that they were able to get wasn't even as high as the bottom of the left shoulder. So that is a really strong head and shoulders. That was a real failure there. That second move right there, that was a real failure. A real failure. And that's why I think now that they've come back, that's acting like such strong resistance because it was such a significant failure. So that could mean that the E-mini might keep going down. But it's uncertain because the pattern did complete. But now on the other side, the thing I'm seeing is that they almost have 7,000 at 02, which is pretty high. And I've seen in the past that if it's being slow and they get up to it, and if we ticked up to 015 and that actually became 7,000, that's a really good short. That could be held. I think someone has to cover his position here. Oh yeah, totally. I mean, there was an iceberg there, right? Somebody got out. I mean, I had the opportunity to get out there. I could have just gotten out on the iceberg. That's what I should have done. Probably. But I thought, you know what? They're holding a good bit at 03. They could keep going. And then only 500, and then they stopped. And then it was all of a sudden, it was like, look at on the way back. Look at the numbers here. Okay. Where I was like really trying to get out at, they didn't even buy back into it at all. You can see it. You can see it right here on my one range chart. They just gapped right there. So that was a case where I moved up because traders were trading the correlation with the E-mini. And when the E-mini was no longer putting pressure on, everybody just took profits. And there was nobody to buy at all. And here I am trying to get filled on the limit like an idiot instead of just clicking out. Fuck. That was because I made 2 ticks on that, right? So that was a 5-tick loss. That was a real mistake. That was a really bad mistake on my part. Oh well. It's not like today was a disaster, but I feel so dumb when something like that happens. Yep. All who have bought the load have sold all the breakout traders. Buy low, sell high. Yep. I think when I was up there, I was thinking the E-mini was going to go quite a bit lower, and the selling was going to continue because there was 5K there, but they went bid, and there was a strong bid there. I think that what happened there may indicate that we may yet go back up there. And the other thing that's interesting is that this buyer has been absorbing about 2,000 to 3,000 contracts at every level. He did it at 03. He did it at 025. When it went offer at 025, he gave up. Now it come back down. This 55 is less than it was when we were up by it. And this 31.5 is really thick. Oh, no, it mostly pulled back to what it was. You might be able to buy it again here and then get another run at the high, for all I know. But it's past my trading time, so I have to deal with the -2 and take a picture of it. One of the things that's super frustrating too was that all of these trades could have been profitable if they had just been done at different times or whatever. Swiss sold at 015. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can, if I was really paying attention, let's not say that, really foggy in Utah County. Yeah, I maybe better get going here. But I'll say the one last thing. Let's just assume, let's just play pretend for a second and say I got out at 03 on the market. All about keeping losses small. Don't sweat that, man. Well, shouldn't let it come back on me more than 3. But if it had come down and then I had seen that thing stack on there, and I wasn't so busy feeling sorry for myself, maybe I would have sold 015 and taken the 4 ticks here too. You know, because that's a signal that what you tick through something and like 6,000 is on offer. That's something you gotta to pay attention to. Sometimes that's a spoof, for sure, but we haven't been seeing those very often, so I think that that's one that you could definitely sell. But alas, I was flat-footed. Oh well. You know what? It was probably bound to happen. I always have bad Fridays. And when you look at, like, let's see if we go back all the way to December, I think. I don't think I was completely... Yeah, there you go. So, one more tick out of that. And if I was trading 2 contracts, I would have passed the combine. Eh? Huh? We can say I could pass a combine, but it would take me 2 months. Take me 2 months to do it. I have to trade 2 contracts, and it would have to be a good market like we've had the past quarter, right? If it was in the summer, no way, wouldn't even be close. And this is very unusually good trading for me. So that just goes to show how difficult it really is to pass the combine, but it can be done. Okay, I need to post my notes. If you have any other questions or comments, put them in. I'll address them before I go.
Just to make everyone aware as well, at the top of the hour, that ECB's Visco speaks in Rome.
Do you ever look at the bund if you are trying to keep margin costs low to fit your current risk regime? It's rather low cost and very good product in my opinion. I watched it a little bit, but like it gives it to me, but I don't think it gives me the full data. Yeah. So yeah, I mean I could do it, but I don't really see a reason for me to switch. Yeah, just leave your data box on all day. Is it only a good market when you're winning? Lol. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing: when we get really trending markets, I do really well. Like, look at some of these trades now. I feel dumb, of course, with what happened, but today. But I mean, some of these trades are just ridiculous. When you look at how much MAE I'm getting, 2 to 4 on average, and I'm getting 8, 10, 13 on some of these, right? So I'm taking on very, very little risk for very high reward, and I'm really good at catching those trends. And then when we don't get that, like in the summer, I just do absolutely fucking terrible. I really, no joke, guys. I mean, I know not everybody watches every day, but from about April of last year until about September, and even well into September, October, and I think part of that was that it affected my head. Like I was very seriously discouraged by my trading for that time period, and it was literally like I would lose literally every day. Literally every day. It was so bad. Now, I've made some adjustments since that time, and I think I really started to figure it out around October. But I've made some adjustments that have made that better, and that's why I think I've been able to catch the moves that we've had lately, because I wouldn't say that my reads have been super spectacular lately, and I've made a couple of mistakes, and yet I still come out with a really good profit. So I really would have to say the market is a very significant factor behind my performance right now. And if I'm winning, it's probably a good market. Can you make money in bad markets? Sure. But it's like when it's a good market, everybody will be making money. And when it's a bad market, even the best will just kind of break even. So what market you're trading matters. You know, it matters. It makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. But it's great right now. It's really great right now. I'm doing really well. I'm really happy about it. But I just kind of have to have that in the back of my mind, that it's like I know that the market can change and I can be doing twice as bad as I've been doing good, you know? So I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and look at some stats today on my phone. Maybe we'll post them in chat and we can talk about them, but I don't know if converting to USD, I'm not sure I understand the advantage. I don't know. So maybe you should explain that a little bit more to me. But yeah, I will see you guys next week. Unless you're in chat, you know, I'll still be chitting and chatting in Discord. So yes, thank you guys for watching.